Officially marking the first full week of Raiders training camp. The team off today, back on the field Thursday, Friday, Saturday, before we get into the first game week of the Raiders season. August 13th, Thursday at Allegiant Stadium against the Arizona Cardinals. And as excited as many are to kind of see that first game, a lot of work still to do before we get that. We'll have the Allegiant Stadium practice next Tuesday. That'll be the first opportunity for this coaching staff, these players, to kind of get in the building for the first time, figure out they don't like in terms of the logistics, in terms of the rundown, to show, as they like to say, ahead of the game on Thursday. But we have plenty of time to talk about that and what that will entail and be like and things of that nature. But we are a full week into training camp. And I guess first things first, I want to start with something that I talked about yesterday that apparently was brought to my attention that got misconstrued somewhere along the way. Vinny and Clay, we talked about yesterday, or I talked about how we've seen a lot of rotations going on during training camp, right? In the DB, the secondary, the wide receivers. We've seen a lot of different rotations with the ones and twos, right? Sprinkling different guys in here and there. What I said yesterday is that when you look at the offensive line, that starting five that has consistently been out with the ones and Kirk Cousins has not been rotated with. That has been the constant that we've seen. Now, I will clarify, because, again, it was misconstrued and taken out of context. That does not mean that is your starting five week one. Could be, on track to be, but not cemented. Don't put anything in pen just yet. The point of what I was trying to make is that there's a concerted effort from this coaching staff, from Clint Kubiak, Rick Dennison, that they need time to see what they have. We're going to hear from Rick Dennison here coming up. We brought him to you yesterday towards the end of our show in the morning tailgate. I know JT and Q obviously played some Rick Dennison sound yesterday, but we're going to play more of what Rick had to say because I think it's vitally important, one, to make sure you understand that there is no confusion, that there is still competition afoot, if you will, along the trenches and the offensive line, but it is still so early in the process for that particular group that they need to get some kind of base for themselves before they start the ins and outs, and Rick Dennison will get into that. So I just wanted to clarify for anybody that was possibly confused as to what I said yesterday, because, again, it was brought to my attention yesterday after the show that there was a feeling that I said that the offensive line starting five is golden and done. Simply not the case, Vinny and Clay.
Yeah, there is competition. That's what training camp is all about, and there's time for everybody to win jobs, whether it's on the back of the roster, on special teams, in the starting unit, rotational roles, starting quarterback, that third wide receiver, and that's definitely across the board. But I do think that the Raiders felt it was important to try to get a group of five, a lot of reps together, a lot of time together. There is competition. There's also trying to get ready. And I think we have pointed this out throughout the spring and as training camp, as we got closer to training camp, and how, in contrast to years past where there was a lot of tinkering and there was a lot of moving around and there was a lot of moving parts and there were a lot of iterations of the offensive line, and how I felt there was probably a little bit of a disservice done. I'm not saying that, and then part of that was because of personnel, part of that was because of injuries. There were a lot of different reasons why it was the case. And you got to the regular season, and the starting group that you put out there to take the first series of the first game and the first couple of games, I just felt lacked that cohesiveness and lacked that chemistry. And part of the reason that I believe that was the case, especially in retrospect, was that there wasn't enough time for that starting unit to really gel. And when we're talking about those offensive lines in the past, there was a lot of movement. It wasn't just one position that was being really examined, kind of like this year is with that right guard position. But there were multiple positions, to be honest with you, and I just felt like, again, there was a cause and effect to that, and I think the Raiders would love to be able to avoid any cause and effect like that, but that doesn't mean that jobs aren't still on the line or being competed for, because there are.
Well, anytime if you're live at practice and you're giving observations at practice, that should never mean like that's gospel. It's just observations, and we're giving you the information as they're seen. So if you see like the same cast of characters in one spot, that doesn't mean cement. That doesn't mean, oh, here it is, and this is the final product. We're just opening up the pamphlet of this book here, and we're in the first couple pages of a novel. That's all we're at, and there's no way to anyone to go too far to say like, all right, that's what they said and that's what I heard. Now I'm just going on with that. Just take it easy and just allow things, because think about it. What NFL team's going to have just any position group with 5 guys in it completely solidified day one?
Especially the Raiders, who need massive improvement from that group. And that's why I give the caveat every time I see something. I say, for what it's worth,
yes,
this is what I'm seeing at this present moment. Don't know what it means next week, this season, but this is what it means. And if you don't believe me, this is why we ask the coaches. Obviously, we have to wait for certain days and times to get different kinds of coaches, but Rick Dennison stepped to the podium, and he was asked about the rotation or lack thereof in team drills compared to the rotation that we've seen with the offensive linemen during the individuals.
Everybody's competing. We're just starting out. I mean, this is second day in pads. For offensive line, you can't really tell how they're going to be in shorts. They need to have pads. They need to work together. So in our drills, we're working everybody with everybody, but we're just kind of starting out right now, and everybody's really working hard and competing, trying to get the calls right, the verbiage, and then obviously the technique. So we're not even through our install yet, so we still got a couple more days of putting our base stuff in, and then we'll pull and keep moving guys around.
So that's Raiders offensive line coach Rick Dennison talking about the process of what the Raiders do. They're not even through their install with the offensive line yet. We're a week into training camp. They have not completed their install. So when you ask, well, why haven't they then started moving guys around? Well, it's because they're, again, trying to get a base with that starting 5. To his point, just again, to help provide the context of what I've seen and what is taking place, is in team period, it's that same 5. Team period. That 11 on 11 team period. When they go through their individual drills or offensive line, defensive line groups, there's mixing and matching in terms of who's lined up with who. But again, when Kirk Cousins trots out on the field in team period, it's that same 5. That is the discernible difference in terms of what is taking place at training camp. Not to say that it won't change. As you just heard from Rick Dennison, once they get their install in and once they get a few more practices with pads under their belt, then they can start seeing what's what. And it's he goes on to sit there and say, we also need to play games. we need to play games to see what the group looks like. They're trying to find the best 5. We had Steve Wisniewski on yesterday, hour number 1 of the morning tailgate, live from Raiders practice, and I asked how long it takes. What is the equation? What is the secret sauce to making an offensive line work? And he goes, you really don't know what you have until 3-4 weeks into the season. And again, that was coming from a guy who played back in the day where they had 2-a-days, where that group was practicing twice a day out on the field with pads, where their runway was shorter, so to speak, in terms of because they had more reps together, and it still took them 3 or 4 weeks into the season before you really, really came together. That is the price of admission for offensive line, and that is what is at the feet of the Raiders, and that's why we talk about how critical, and Vinny, how important this position is to the overall success of the team, how quickly that group can come together, find the right 5, stay healthy, and then go execute.
Well, as we've been saying, it is the key to the engine for the offense. And not to say that, the Raiders can't overcome a bad offensive line or be able to still compete with a bad offensive line, but it makes it really tough. When we've seen that the last couple of years, well, you want to know why the Raiders have struggled so much offensively? There were a couple of reasons, but first and foremost, their offensive line, especially last year, was just downright terrible. Geno Smith, for everything you want to say about Geno Smith, it's hard to operate when you don't have much time, and he didn't. He got sacked a whole bunch of times, So and it was a bad situation. Ashton Genty, who is a phenomenal running back, who is an offensive player of the year walking Offensive Player of the Year candidate, kept getting hit beyond the line of scrimmage, can never find a true rhythm. Why? Not because he's not a good football player. He is a good football player, but the offensive line wasn't doing its job. So, yes, it's extremely important, and it's why, they are taking a good hard look at things and a good hard look at a whole bunch of players. I do think that they have a vision for that offensive line. I think there's a position that really needs to get solidified. And again, but that doesn't mean that all of the positions aren't truly open for competition, because that would be short-sighted to just close things off. But I do believe there's a vision there for the starting five, and we'll see if that comes to fruition. And I think there's a lean in a certain direction right now, or some things are being not necessarily determined, but have already been determined, but are probably a little bit closer than they have been in the past to being determined at this stage of training camp. But we'll see how it all plays out. There are games. There's a joint practice. There's a few weeks to go now before, what are we, 30 some odd days before the not 30 some odd days, maybe about 40 days before the season opener or so. There's still questions to be answered. A lot of things. There's still an offense to be installed, to be truly installed. So a ways to go, but I think I would say this: they're further ahead of the game as of right now than they have been in the last couple of years as it relates to that the starting offensive line.
So do you have to think, like, at this point, are they happy at least with this current grouping that they can start the install with confidence?
I mean, well, the install, I don't know what their level of confidence is, but you have to install it, so there's no stopping the install. And yeah, I think they do feel pretty good about where things are with the offensive line, and everybody's going to have to be involved in the install, because you could play at a moment's notice. Even if you're on the practice squad, you might get called up at a moment's notice. So you better know what your assignment is. I think more importantly, in terms of that install, is getting a group and then also the entire group up to speed with one another, and I think it is vitally important that you figure out who that five is, or have a pretty darn good idea of who that five is, and get them as many reps as possible together. Cohesiveness and chemistry are such a key to the offensive line. They're interconnected. It's not an individual position. It's five individuals playing in a collective sense, much more than any other position, on offense. And so developing that chemistry, I think, is vitally important. And I don't think there's any slowing down or any apprehension or any lack of confidence about installing the offense. That's happening as we speak.
And one thing we don't have to worry about is the teaching. Right? In hindsight, teaching was clearly an issue last year. That is not the case this year. As I pointed out many times when we were out on the field for training camp, I was blown away just of how hands-on Rick Dennison was with every single guy, veteran from Colton Miller to the rookie like a Trey Zune, right? Just hands-on, up in the ear hole, up in the rep. I said if he was any closer, Bob Romanski was going to have to go and get him a helmet and pads. Like, he was there. So when he spoke to me, when he stepped to the podium, I was chomping at the bit to ask him, and I did. Where does that come from? Has that been a part of his repertoire since the start? Here's what he had to say.
I don't know how to do it any different, right? I mean, if you don't put your hands on them, if you don't, you're not in. And I learned the game from Alex, but I also look at it perspective. I played defense. What did I see on the other side? And I know what my vision was. I looked at, just the gaps in between and the backs. And as a lineman, there's not much they see past a 300-pounder sometimes. So, you got to get in it. You got to understand what they're looking at. And then Colton has all kinds of experience. I've done things a certain way, but if they have a different way, I'll listen to it. If I like it, let's give it a try. If I don't like it, like, I have some scars. I've tried it that way. It's not going to work. I don't like it, right? So there's a lot of give and take with them, but, as long as we're all trying to progress.
That's Rick Dennison, Raiders offensive line coach, and he started laughing when he goes, "I got some scars," and I thought that was the part that really stood out, because we talk about how heralded he is, right, from not just his resume, but the coaching tree he came from. And when he said, I learned from Alex Gibbs, maybe the most famous, renowned offensive line running coordinator, whatever you want to describe him as, savant in terms of the running game. He learned from Alex Gibbs. And so when you hear, I have some scars, he knows what it doesn't look like as important as he knows what it does look like, right? And so, that was a fun moment too. But prior to him answering that, I literally asked him, I go, where does that come from? And he kind of like looked at me, and it took him like 3 or 4 seconds before he's like, I don't know any other is there another way? like, what else would you do? And so again, a nice way to kind of get into the mindset and the POV from him, right? You would think like he's a great offensive line coach. He must have been a badass offensive lineman. No, he was a linebacker. And so that
different world.
That inverse point of view, almost gives him the keys to finding that success along the offensive line. Real fascinating stuff. We'll hear more from Rick Dennison, but Vinny, when that hands-on approach, I just can't overstate it enough. Talking to Colton Miller, he's like, man, he does not let you waver off the path. He does not let you get off the track, whether it's your technique, whatever it may be. It's why there's so much optimism, not just in the building, but on the outside of what this running attack could look like specifically.
Yeah, and there's talent too. There's talent to accompany that, and I think that's felt throughout the organization, and that's why there was so much disappointment last year with how that unit performed, because they felt like, hey, there's talent here to work with, without question. This should be much better. What is the issue? And I think that issue was identified, and hopefully it's been rectified. And when you have a hands-on coach like Rick Dennison, who doesn't let you lapse one iota when it comes to your fundamentals, when it comes to your technique, and he's right there to teach you up and to correct in real time. I mean, there's a lot of stuff is happening behind the scenes as well in the classroom and everything like that, and I think he's brilliant in that regard. But the fact that he is as aggressive as he is in his teaching on the field in real time to make sure, hey, your hand was not where it was supposed to be, or whatever, your footwork right there was a little sloppy on that. Remember what we talked about earlier. You've got to stay on top of that, and it's corrections in real time that pretty soon all of that type of stuff becomes second nature. But sometimes it does require that real time coaching and that real time instruction to really correct things that he's seeing in real time that aren't up to par. So I think that's extremely critical as well. And we're going to find out here pretty soon. The proof is obviously going to be in the pudding, and eventually we're going to see them against other teams, and we're going to see them, play entire quarters and entire halves and entire games together, and we're going to see if all of this did come together in a way that I think the Raiders are very hopeful that it will.
702-365-9200. A week into training camp, how has your thought process, what has been the biggest changes for you in terms of this team, these players, offensive unit, defensive unit? How much has changed for you in a week of training camp based on what you've heard, read, seen with the Silver and Black thus far in 2026? Obviously, with more information still to come, but with the day off today, we'll use this day as kind of a little milestone marker. What has changed for the good or the bad? We want to hear from you. 702-365-9200. We're going to open up the phone, so keep them coming. Get the text line rolling. Let's get this thing going, Raider Nation. I'm in the AC. I have a little bit more. The energy feels a little bit more there. I don't know what it is, Clay. I'm upset that they're not practicing right now because I like to be out there. But being back in the building, seeing you face to face,
refreshed,
a little bit. I feel a little sun kiss, a little tan. A little vitamin C. I think that's the vitamin. From the sun? I feel like vitamin C is...
The enthusiasm hasn't waned. So you still have the exuberance of a young teenager out here.
Well, you know why we're excited, especially on this day, because one of our favorite segments returns. Once a Raider, always a Raider is back here. Every Wednesday on the morning tailgate, we'll talk to a Raiders alum, a Raiders legend, about their time with the silver and black and get their 2 cents on the team up ahead. And to kick off our 2026 edition of Once a Raider, Always a Raider, a legend, Greg Townsend, Super Bowl champion. Yeah, L.A. Raider, Oakland Raider. He'll be joining us. I'm sure he'll love to talk about the offensive line and how he used to eat him up.
100-plus sacks. Yeah, he has probably good knowledge of that. Yeah.
Very excited to talk to Greg Townsend. Top of hour number 2, 8 o'clock hour, as well as Adam Hill, Las Vegas Review-Journal. We'll hear from him at 8:30, and then Tape Don't Lie. Marcus Johnson of Tape Don't Lie will be joining us in hour number 3 at 9 o'clock. We want to hear from you, 702-365-9200. But first,
Hey guys, are you craving real Mexican food that's been doing it right for generations? Well, if so, it's time for Sal's Mexican Restaurant, a Central Valley tradition since 1942. That's a long time ago, and they've been doing it right since then. We're talking about the kind of food that keeps people coming back. Stacked burritos, sizzling fajitas, legendary enchiladas, and those award-winning tamales that everybody's talking about. And here's the best part. Whether you're in Selma, Madera, or Fresno, Sal's has a location for you. Plus, Raider Nation, listen up. Sal's is always about the silver and black, whether it's a game day, a fight night, whatever the event might be. Sal's is your spot. Can't make it in? No problem. You can get Sal's delivered straight to your door wherever you are. Just go to salsmexicanrestaurant.com. That's salsmexicanrestaurant.com and place your order right now. They'll deliver it to you wherever you are. Don't wait. Don't settle. Sal's Mexican Restaurant. Tradition, flavor, and Raider pride served up fresh every single day.
I think he's done a great job. I think he's got a clear message. There's no agendas. We're all trying to get better. It's going to take all of us. I think he's done a really good job, but I kind of expected that when I decided to come here. That would be the only reason I'd come here, because I felt really good about what Clint's going to do.
Rick Dennison, Raiders O-line coach, talking about his head coach, Clint Kubiak. And, for weeks and months we heard just the opposite, right? That, Clint Kubiak wasn't going to Vegas without him. It's nice to hear that's reciprocated, right? And you figured it was. I'm not trying to make it one or the other, but to hear him say, that was the only way I was coming here was if Clint was head coach. And so it just goes to show you the bond, and more than just the bond, and I think we've talked about this as well, the belief in what Clint Kubiak does, is, and will be. And I think that's Put another reason in the optimism jar right there. A 4-time Super Bowl champion in Rick Dennison, basically planting his flag in the sand for Clint Kubiak for a number of reasons. But, that belief is to me more important than just the bond that they share and that same congruency that they have in terms of philosophy.
Yeah, and wherever Clint would have gotten a head coaching job, I'm pretty sure that Rick was gonna join him. I mean, this is a guy that has moved with him a couple of different places. He was in Minnesota with them. He was in New Orleans with them. He was obviously in Seattle with them. So that was they were a tag team, as was Andrew Janocko, who also was on previous stops with Clint Kubiak. So, whether Clint had stayed in Seattle or gone to be a head coach somewhere else, or obviously landed here with Las Vegas, that was a package deal. He was bringing his offensive assistants with him to wherever he went, and it just so happened to be Las Vegas. And, we keep talking about this, Vince, but when you think about Clint Kubiak and his crew of offensive assistants that have gone with him place to place to place now, going back a ways, there's success. There's a track record involved. It's not something where you're going, wow, I wonder how this is going to work out offensively. The only real question I have is, are the right players going to be in place, right? And I think the Raiders are absolutely chipping away at that part of it. You start quarterback of the future, and you make Tyler Linderbaum the highest center in the league. You got Colton Miller. You're figuring out the other positions on the field. You got an Ashton Genty. You got Brock Bowers, that stud over at tight end. You're working through some things at wide receiver for that third one. If the talent is in place, you have a track record of coaches who have had success, going back all the way, Vince, to last year with the Seattle Seahawks, which that crew came into Seattle and in 1 year got things straightened out offensively to the point where they won the Super Bowl, and there was massive improvements across the board. Obviously, they had a different quarterback in Sam Darnold, but they even took him to a new level. That the offensive line went from the worst in the league to among the top 15 in the league, which is a massive turnaround. JSN had just a tremendous year, and the talent was obviously there. This staff figured out how to use him best. So you don't have to go back very far, but you can go back not only recently, but over a period of time where these coaches, Rick Dennison included, have had a very positive effect and impact on the offenses that they are hired to come fix. And the Raiders are the latest, reclamation project for this crew. And I don't think that I don't have any fears that it's not going to work, provided the right players are at their disposal, which I think the Raiders are doing a good job of putting the right players in place.
Yeah, it's a really good point. It's you're marrying talent with scheme and proof of concept.
A scheme that's obviously worked.
Yeah, proof of concept. Right. Like it. And to your point, I think that's the other big part is it just happened. Like we just saw it on the biggest level. Stage. Yeah, on the biggest stage. So, again, lots of reasons for optimism. But as Rick Dennison said, we got a long way to go. Let's finish our install. Let's get a couple games under our belt, and we'll see where we're at. It's not so. Again, not to say that we won't see pulling and moving and shaking at different times. But right now, that starting five of Colton, Burford, Linderbaum, JPJ, DJ Glaze seem that's the starting point. And wherever that goes, that's the starting point. So 702-365-9200. Do want to get your thoughts. And real quick, Vinny, I'm really mad at you that you didn't correct me on this. The sun gives you vitamin D, not vitamin C.
I did not know that.
Yeah,
I did not know that.
I just knew it was a
I
vitamin.
just take them. I don't read the
I kind of feel like Clay should have been there for me
that's
on
his
that one.
job.
Well,
man.
I thought that you were saying, like, what does the sun deplete you of? not in that what you gain, because you could get very quickly dehydrated. Goodbye vitamin C. Goodbye V vitamins, B vitamins, and
immediately half a dozen texts saying it's vitamin D. Sorry. So
Fabian was like, "It's called the sunshine vitamin, vitamin D." Like, all right, already.
I've never heard that.
It's so crazy because I take my vitamin D at night too. I take it at night. I don't take it. Yeah, and that's what I was told to do. Like take vitamin D with magnesium. I take magnesium and vitamin D just before I go to sleep every single night. So maybe
magnesium's good for you to sleep. It helps you sleep.
Yeah, for
is
sure.
the vitamin D at night because there is no sunlight, so that helps.
Boom. Well, let's just load up on that at night.
Did I just become a doctor? Did I just?
Let's
stop.
Yeah, let's get to the prescriptions.
Yeah.
Write me something nice.
I'm in San Diego for one more day. I'll be in Las Vegas tomorrow and Friday watching the Raiders go one more day with the Chargers. And yesterday, Jim Harbaugh, man, what a character this guy is, and kind of have enjoyed observing him and interacting with him. He goes at his own pace, and he's just a unique dude, man. So yesterday, there's a player that's kind of doing a little bit of a hold-in type of a thing, and everybody knows what's going on. And but there was a reporter that was kind of insinuating, is something more going on? Is there an injury? And finally, this guy asked the question a couple different ways, right? And Jim said, "What are you saying? What are you asking me here right now?" He goes, "Do you know something that I don't know?" "No, you would know." "I don't know. I'm trying to tell you that I don't know." And Jim says, "Look, I've got a whole bunch of things sitting behind my desk, right? A whole bunch of awards and things like that. You know what's not there? A medical degree. There's not one of those. There's not a medical. I'm not a doctor. I'm a football coach. So when you're, I was like cracking up. I don't have one of those things. The medical thing right there. So don't pretend to be a doctor, Vince. You don't have one of those. Neither do I. I didn't know the vitamin D helped with the sun or whatever we're saying. I'm agreeing with. Maybe I should read sometimes I just do what they tell me to do, man. You know what I'm saying? Like, okay, this is the time I'm supposed to take 2 of these. I'll take.
What's
2 of
vitamin
these.
C? Orange juice.
Right, of course.
Right?
I do know that.
Yeah,
because
so
it
I
says
just,
it, right?
an orange looks like the sun. So I just thought the sun.
Oh, you're a color guy.
Yeah, I just thought it was the same thing.
Hey, you're visual. That's fine.
Yeah. But apparently that's incorrect.
Eventually down the road, you would have got it right.
So there goes.
By the way, good to see DJ Glaze, escape the whatever. Everyone was writing him off, apparently, a couple of days ago after, oh my goodness, he had a couple of rough reps against Maxx Crosby on the first day of pads, and all of a sudden there were all these, there was, one in particular story of how DJ Glaze was struggling and he's the weak link and blah, 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 and we talked about this yesterday, and no, that's nobody's looking at it like that at all. And it sounds like there was a nice response from him yesterday, and had a better overall afternoon or morning yesterday. And people need to remember, okay, it was one day in pads. There's a long way to go. You're going to have your ups and downs. You're going to have your good days, your bad days, your good reps and bad reps. It really, when you go to things like the Senior Bowl events or even just watching the Raiders, you're going to see give and take. Those guys are really good on both sides of the ball, right? So at any given time, you can see somebody like Maxx Crosby get locked up, or you can see him, just throw some guy around like a rag doll, and it's the same guy as the previous rep. And if you just focused on either one, you can go with a narrative, and especially if you put out film of it or make it a point to tweet it out or something like that. There's people that are fixated on everything that we are reporting from these training camps, and things can get misconstrued real quick, and that got misconstrued real quick, that DJ Glaze was suddenly in danger of losing his job. That's not the case. That's not how it's looked at. I'm not saying that, he's locked in stone, like there's no chance that he can get beat out for a job, because he can. That's across the board. But we kind of need to be careful a little bit in how we interpret things, how we see things, and how things can be interpreted, because there's a lot of people that are paying attention and writing things off of what we tweet sometimes or what we say sometimes, and it could get misconstrued real quick, and that was a case of that happening.
Well, that's why I started the show, clarifying exactly what we've seen thus far in Raiders training camp as it pertains to the offensive line. When it comes to that narrative that took over kind of in the first day and a half with pads on, I think people are overlooking, one major factor in all of this is Maxx Crosby looks unbelievable out there. Like, unbelievable. His teammates cannot believe this guy is coming off a knee injury. Like Maxx Crosby right? looks as good as he has ever looked. In the time that I've covered him and in all the training camps that I've seen, he looks unbelievable. So you take that, whoever he's lining up with, it's going to be a rough day every day. And, a good day for some is just not getting your lunch eaten, right? Like sometimes you're gonna, that's football. That's training camp, and especially when the pads go on, there's a different energy, and Maxx is the ultimate energizer bunny, right? Like in terms of he doesn't stop. His 10 is, most guys is 7 or 8. Right? Like, he's just always operating. And again, to me, it's more of a credit to Maxx Crosby than anything. So the narrative you're talking about, saw it, I get it, but when I'm watching it, I'm not seeing it less of like, oh my gosh, what's wrong with that guy? For me, it's more look at what this guy over here is doing, as opposed to just really bad play. It's just unbelievable play from Maxx Crosby. But to kind of put into context, again, because this is why we asked the questions when we're there at the podium. We asked Rick Dennison what he's thought of DJ Glaze so far a week in a training camp.
Yeah, I really think DJ's really working hard. Every day there's little things. I tell them all to, work on one thing a day. Get one skill that you get better. And, we keep pointing out things that DJ's got to work on. And he does have, great length. I mean, he uses his arm length really well. And he's working really hard at it.
So there it is on DJ Glaze. Not unlike any other player, has stuff to work on, can be better, right? So there you have it. The starting point is the starting point for the Raiders. Let's get out to the phone. 702-365-9200. Kenny and Henderson, good morning. Welcome to the tailgate. A week into training camp. What do you got?
Well, man, I tell you, it was intense yesterday. Like you were saying with the linemen, it was just crazy how intense they were. That's why I want to go to the second day of pads. But like you're saying about Maxx, man, he is playing with a chip on his shoulder this year. I can't wait till next year when we play Baltimore. That's all I got to say. And then I had a question for Vinny on a couple of thoughts I had about Malik Benson. The thing with Benson, man, he's developing a really good chemistry with Fernando, and Kirk Cousins is finding him. I'm telling you, man, that guy is the real deal. What do you guys think?
Yeah, and you know that's been coming because he was a guy that at least the people that I spoke to were saying that he was a I wouldn't say a star, but he was a standout. You know, all throughout the spring, rookie minicamp, regular minicamp, OTAs throughout, and he's carried that into you know, training camp, and there's a real opportunity there. Let's face it, that nothing is solidified when it comes to that third wide receiver spot. I do think that it's going to be kind of a collective effort in some ways, depending on what the look is, what the play is, you know, what they're trying to do, whether it's a run play or a pass play. But he has a real opportunity to carve out a nice role for himself this year. And you know, what we mentioned was when you look at his recent past, you know, the last 3 years or so, you know, it didn't really come together for him in a big way until last year at Oregon. Got settled in, had a really good quarterback, had a really good system, and lo and behold, there's Malik doing really big things at Oregon, and whatever you want to call it, the light turned on. He was in a great environment and with a great supporting cast and a good quarterback. Whatever you want to call it, it worked out for him at Oregon, and I think the Raiders got a player at a spot in the draft where this guy's, you know, momentum and helium in his balloon, everything was on the up, and it's clearly continued now in the short period of time that he's been in the NFL. Now he's just got to keep chipping away at it, keep stacking good days, but there's no doubt in my mind that he's opened up enough eyes where there's people in the building and within the coaching staff that are like, okay, this guy can have an impact for us this year. He's got to keep going in the right direction.
Like I said before, I don't know what it's going to be like in the regular season, but I can say unequivocally through the first week of training camp, he has been the star of training camp on the offensive side of the ball. There's no other way to put it. He's been all over the field. He's made seemingly every catch thrown his way, and anytime Fernando's out there, it feels like there's nobody else on the field other than number 19. So he has consistently made plays on the outside, over the middle, creating separation both with and without pads. I've been it has been an unbelievable watch to see kind of number 19 make headway in a wide receiver room that still has a lot of question marks. So that is my thoughts on Malik Benson. A long way to go, as Clint Kubiak said before. You know, he can go out and do that on Sundays, but I think Ryan McFadden said it yesterday. Like, this guy is changing his own narrative from being not just a special teamer, but a guy that could be a major contributor as that number 3 wide receiver for the Raiders in 2026. 702-365-9200 is the number. We'll talk about another star of training camp on the other side, on the defensive side of the ball. But first, it is time for our summer of fun. 4-night stay, Yellowstone National Park. We're going to Yellowstone, not Sedona, Clay. Not been to Yellowstone. Want to go there. 4-night stay, Yellowstone. Courtesy of our friends here at Raider Nation Radio 920, as well as Terribles. All you got to do is text in the word of the day, and you are entered for a chance to win. Flights paid for, lodging, cabins paid for, 4 nights. And the beauty, the majesty that is the good old US of A at Yellowstone National Park. All you got to do is text in the word of the day. Breeze. Breeze. B-R-E-E-Z-E. Text in the word breeze to 702-365-9200. And you are entered for a chance to win right here on the Morning Tailgate, Raider Nation Radio 920. Welcome back inside the Morning Tailgate, 702-365-9200. We're asking, as we've hit the week milestone into training camp, the team has the day off, back on the field tomorrow. How have your thoughts changed on players, on the team, on certain units, position groups, 702-365-9200. And I think one position group that, at least for me, has changed, a little bit is the defensive line. We've been asking the question all offseason long. With Maxx obviously back now in the fold, who is going to be that kind of other guy to really be that linchpin on the defensive line, whether it's from a getting after the quarterback perspective or whether it's just being that other dude that you need to kind of help Maxx create his separation, avoid the triple teams, because we know he's going to get double teamed, but to avoid triple teams, like who's going to be that guy? And I think a guy that has emerged in a massive way that a lot of people inside, outside are talking about is second-year D tackle, D lineman, Tonka Hemingway, who flashed in a massive way through 6 practices for the Raiders so far this past week. And so much so, I know Q Myers had him on his show, Unnecessary Roughness, yesterday, had a one-on-one with Tonka. But I asked Kwity Paye yesterday, who's new to everything, right? His first impressions of Tonka Hemingway. Here's what he had to say.
Oh, man, he's been balling. He's been playing great ball, and if you ask anybody on the defense, they'll say the same thing. Tonka, he put in a lot of work this offseason. He got an award, for the defense, for the guys putting in the most work in the weight room. So, you see him every day in the building, one of the first people in the building just working, wanting to get better, and you can just see it like in camp. Like he's been popping up on the field everywhere. A couple other young guys, Jonah, I said before, Kean Sloan has a motor. He's been out there balling as well. So, I'm really excited for this young group, and yeah, it'll be good.
Yeah, so that's Raiders D lineman Kwity Paye, who in his own right has kind of been moved around in a lot of different places along the defense, and we can get more into that in a bit. But staying on Tonka, getting the award for the entire defense for the work done in the weight room. That's exactly what you want to hear from year 1 to year 2, right?
Yes.
The guy that came on strong at the end of last season. And, okay, who's putting in the work? Not to say others aren't, but when you hear that he's the guy that at the top of that list in terms of putting into the work, it's not a surprise when you see him making the plays and popping as much as he has. And as I pointed out yesterday, every time that number 1 defense goes out on the field, Tonka, number 97, is right there with number 98.
Yeah, and I'm going back and looking at some of his scouting reports, and one of the knocks on him was the play strength, and because of that, he's not going to be able to play inside. You might have to recast him as an outside guy, and it's always a reminder, take a lot of these scouting reports with a little bit of a grain of salt, and so the fact that he was as diligent as he was with the workroom, and you could see him last year. The body was changing all throughout last year because he was working really hard in the weight room during his rookie season. Obviously, that continued into the offseason, and people noticed. He was another name that kept getting brought up, and we've talked about that going into training camp. Keep an eye on Tonka Hemingway, and it wasn't just because of what he did at the end of last season. He put a lot of work in this offseason.
Flying through into hour number 2 here on the Morning Tailgate. It's Raider Nation Radio 920. Vince Sapienza, Vinny Bonsignor, and Clay Baker coming to you live from Las Vegas on a Wednesday, August 5th, 2026. The Raiders off today, back on the field tomorrow. We've been talking trenches in hour number 1, offensive line, defensive line. Who is shining the most at Raiders training camp? We'll continue to get your thoughts, 702-365-9200. But at this time, it is our favorite segment of the season. Once a Raider, always a Raider, where we talk to the legends, the alumni for the Silver and Black, what it means to be a Raider and their impressions of what is to come. And joining us to kick off episode 1 of 2026, once a Raider, always a Raider. He's a Super Bowl champion, 2-time All-Pro, 2-time Pro Bowler, and the Raiders' all-time sack leader, Greg Townsend, joining us here on the Morning Tailgate. Greg, good morning. How are we?
Good morning to you guys, too. I'm doing great. Everything's going good.
Well, Greg, we really appreciate the time, as always. Thanks for jumping back in with us. You were at training camp just like I was yesterday, getting your eyeballs on this 2026 version of the Raiders, so I got to start there. What were your first impressions? What caught your eye?
Well, I just see how they're working their practice to the point that it's so hot out there for one, but they work and they practice to where they could get it done before the sun come out, but they had some good tempo practice as well. That's what I loved.
Greg, Malcolm Kuntz a couple of years ago flashed some big-time skills, and it felt like he was on his way. Then, unfortunately for him, in training camp, right before a couple days before the season opener, he goes down with a knee injury, misses all of 2024. Comes back last year, kind of a mixed bag for him, giving it one more try with the Raiders this year. What does Malcolm need to do to really get back on track and be the consistent football player and performer that he showed the Raiders to be at the end of that or in the second half of the 2023 season?
Well, you have to go back to that same mindset he had before. And, when the guys suffer a severe injury like that, that seemed to be on the basis of his mind, trying not to get hurt again so he don't miss another season. And that's how you'll get hurt, trying not to get hurt. So you need to get back to that same mindset he had, be aggressive, and just go out there and just let the Lord handle it and just go.
We hear a lot from players talking about the camaraderie they're building right now and the chemistry they're building inside the building and even during off-season activities. What's that like for you to remember the chemistry you had with your position group and how it led to success on the field?
Well, the way we were building our chemistry back in the day, everybody had to wait and see what you could do. And practice is one thing, but they have to see you translate practice onto the game field. And once they could see that, they know now you're learning something and not just out there going on, let's just say, just doing what you want to do. Nothing with technique behind it. So what they have to do is just see how you're working it and then have it translate to the field. It's just like when I was my rookie year, the first 3 games I did nothing. I didn't contribute at all. And it was that third game that we played against the Dolphins on Monday night. I ran that touchdown back. And I had that feeling, that sense of feeling like, oh, these guys now accepted me because now they know they can count on me in some kind of way. They can be real sure that I'm one of them, not somebody that's going to hurt the defense. I'm going to help the defense in my contribute to the field. So that's where I think everybody's mindset's got to be, to where they can prove something to themselves along with proving something to the coach.
That's incredible perspective from Greg Townsend, once a Raider, always a Raider, here on the morning tailgate, because, you sitting there saying you didn't do anything in your first 3 games. You had 10.5 sacks your rookie year. Like that is just unheard of in today's NFL. And I love hearing what you just said of, you run that touchdown back and you feel like, okay, you're part of it and now you can get the ball rolling. That kind of segues perfect into the guy. Go ahead.
Because even after that touchdown, the next week we played Denver, and I had a safety. So the guys were even going around calling me a scoring machine. So it was. You can feel that acceptance, when they start accepting you.
Well, and I wonder how then you can really probably relate to a guy like Tonka Hemingway, a rookie defensive tackle last year who didn't see much field early on in the season. All of a sudden puts up 4 sacks, and I believe it was the final 5 games of the regular season. His confidence is rolling. He wins an award in the offseason for the most work done in the offseason, and now he's popping in a big way, number 97 at Raiders training camp a week in. Just talk about confidence from that particular position, your position, a defensive lineman, and how crucial that is for the evolution of what you're trying to do.
Well, the defensive line over there with the Raiders have it so easy. They have Maxx Crosby. He sets the tempo, what it's going to look like, what it should look like, what it should be played like. That's all you have to do is follow Max's blueprint on just getting it done, and then challenge Maxx. Go, you be first in line. You be the first one out there. You be the last one to lead the office. Challenge all that. Dial that all in, because that's what's going to make you a player like Maxx, like one of them superstar players. So dial that in.
Who are you challenging?
Howie Long.
Nice.
How did that go early on?
I Lyle Alzado for sure.
How did that go early on for you? And when did you make that decision?
I made the decision when I first saw him. When I first saw him, I saw Lau. Him and Lau came up on the field on our rookie camp. It was the rookie camp, and they walked on the field. I tell him about this all the time. Him and Lau had the biggest thighs, and they was wearing those Dolphins shorts. And those things, yeah, you remember those, right? They walking on the field, and I'm asking myself the question: like, I have to look like that to play this game? Oh, let's go there. Let's go.
Hey, Greg, I know that you probably don't have a soft spot in your heart for offensive linemen battling them the way you do every day, but there is, especially in training camp, there is that saying that iron sharpens iron. At this stage of training camp and during training camp and really into the season, how much of what you guys are doing isn't just about beating the guy that's in front of you, that's a teammate of yours over there on offense, but doing that, working with each other, maybe even communicating with them before or after practice in terms of techniques that can help both of you guys from the offensive lineman's perspective, the defensive line, and vice versa?
We didn't go there, so I don't know how to answer that question for today's athletes. But I know what we did. We just did it. We call guys out. We see somebody over there playing real good. We say, "I'd like to go against you." Let's go against you. And look, I had a signature move. It was the rip. Howie had the same move. We just had 5 to 7 moves off the rip. So you just never knew what we was going to do off the rip. So at that point, you go against everybody just so you can see how you can handle everybody and everybody can handle you, because from week to week, you don't know who the guy is going to be and how good the guy is going to be. So you have to get out there and test yourself against everybody just so you be prepared for whoever you're going to play that weekend.
For 109.5 career sacks, is there a way to describe your blueprint for rushing the quarterback, but consistently doing it and always making it new so they can never keep up with you?
It's called attitude. You got to have an attitude. You got to make yourself believe that this guy back there, that quarterback, did something to somebody you love. So if it's your mother, your kids, your best friend, you got to really work yourself up to where that guy done something to somebody in your family. And then you got to have that attitude like he's not going to get away with it.
That's Greg Townsend.
I gave you the clean version now.
No, I appreciate it. I could hear the restraint in your voice, and we appreciate it here on Raider Nation Radio 920, the morning tailgate. Once a Raider, always a Raider. Yesterday I saw you and the Wiz, former teammate, kind of chopping it up at training camp. He came by, joined the table, and we got to pick his brain a little bit. He said, you and him were having some good laughs, some good talks over there. Again, with restraint, what were you guys talking about? How much was it envying the facilities that you guys were watching? Because he was telling us about how you guys had to go get your own water to water the field back in El Segundo. What were you guys chopping it up?
Now, here it is. When you go against somebody like, well, I'm going to say this. You have to know who Wiz is. You got to know your personnel. You got to know your personnel when you're messing with the Wiz. Because Steve Wilniski was just, he had this aggressive mindset. I mean, he looks like he doesn't, right? But he has it. And he will fight you. He don't like to lose. He's just one of those guys that you would love to play for. You love him on your team because he's just had that attitude of a Raider too. I don't know if the Raiders have ever had an offensive lineman like him. We had some good ones, but this guy will fight you in a heartbeat, and that was what our defensive line was like. With Lyle and Howie and myself and Reggie, we will fight you. So will he. And so you have to pick your spots when you're going to go over there with Wiz. Look, remember what we talked about earlier? You might go to the guy and say, hey, I'd like to work on this. Can you work on this with me? Yeah, you might have to discuss that with Wiz, because to go one-on-one and say, hey, I want some of you. That's the wrong way to go. That's
Greg,
the wrong approach to Wiz.
Greg, unfortunately for the Raiders, there's been a lot of change over the last few years. Different coaches coming in, different regimes, different general managers. I feel like with Clint Kubiak and John Spytek, and this is going to be around for a little while. Hopefully, knock on wood that is the case.
Yeah, I agree.
You've been around all the different regimes. You've been around, all the different coaches, and every year we talk about, hey, this kind of feels a little bit different. But thus far, I know it's early, but your thoughts on whatever changes you may feel, or differences that you may have been experiencing so far with this team under Clint Kubiak, if you could share any of those thoughts.
Well, I'm going to say this about Mark. Mark goes out and get the best guy he feels can get the job done. I mean, he went out there and got Gruden. After Gruden, he had Daniels. And after Daniels, he went and got Pete Carroll. And with every pick, he did pick that. And I said, we going somewhere now. This is where we need this coach. I mean, especially with Pete. I really said that with Pete. I said, we going now. We're going to go. Pete got all that experience. He been there. He done it. We gonna get it. And man, the bottom fell out of that. So I'm in this phase in my mind now saying, I know Clint is good because I know his dad. I played against his dad. Even in college, I played against his dad. So I just know what kind of guy his dad is, and I'm hoping Clint is that same guy because I know the way Gary, his dad, Gary Kubiak, attitude was. It was sharp. But at the same time, it was firm, what he would think about you doing his offense. So I'm hoping Clint got some of that, but I'm just hoping our guys, they said they buy in, but some of them don't. Because who going to get in front of a TV camera and say, I ain't bought in yet? Nobody's going to say that. So it's just, they say that, and I know that's part of what they're going to say because they can't say it the other way. And I'm just waiting to see how they're going to really jive out there on the field and bring some of that Raider attitude back, and to where getting guys' faces and let them know not today. That's not going to happen today, and get the job done.
What's your philosophy of when you draft a quarterback in number one and you know that he has the potential of being great, but yet you may not want to rush him along unless it's right? Where do you stand on that with somebody like Fernando Mendoza?
I'm so glad you asked me that because that's been my biggest conversation yesterday with Reggie and a few of the guys. I would like for him to sit back and learn. Now, if we have some big scores we got a lead in that he can come in and help with the ground and pound, and throw some little slants here and little outs there, but nothing major. Because here it is. When we were playing, if we had a rookie come up and play, we did that with Maddox. We did that with a few guys. You can call it a cheap shot. Some people call it a cheap shot, but we're gonna give you a shot, though, bro.
Yeah, it's called football to some. Others, the weaker ones have called it a cheap shot. We call it football.
Yeah, so because we're trying to let any kind of rookie know that this is the NFL. This ain't college football no more. You don't get away with some of that stuff you used to get away with, and we're gonna make sure you adhere to what we're putting down here in on our team. So for him, I don't want him to get out there and get one of those because that'll take away some of his confidence. It might give him confidence. I don't know. But I know most of the time when that happens, it takes away people's confidence. So in retrospect, I would like to sit him for a whole year. And I even joked about this, so don't go back and tell Kurt I said this. I said if Kurt hurt, you throw his ass back on the field. You're going to preserve your future.
Well, Greg, I was just about to ask you, what is the patience level, right? Like if that is what you would do and what you would prefer, that's obviously your perspective. But I'm curious,
right.
When does that patience level run out? Because you know as well as I know, once Allegiant Stadium, sees 15 on the field, the Fernando chants are going to get loud. Like, how strong does that patience level have to be for you?
Well, that's going to be a conversation him and I are going to have.
Okay.
That let me know that he's ready for some of that good action. And you don't let the fans dictate when you're going to put a guy in or nothing like that. Don't let that happen. And so just talk to him and get his fix on it. Because see here when I came in as a rookie, we had a lot of rookie class quarterbacks. Marino played his third game. He started his fourth game. And so did John Elway. They started their fourth game of the season. So I'm quite sure Tony Eason went over to New England, and he probably started right away. And so did Dan O'Brien at the Jets. Those are all rookies, and they did get in there right away. Eason, he came out with a Super Bowl, but he didn't come out with a Super Bowl win. So did Dan Marino, and then so did John Elway. They all went to Super Bowl young, and then they came out with no wins. So that's kind of where I stand with that, because I know how guys treat rookie quarterbacks, or young quarterbacks even for that aspect. But I would think my threshold would be somewhere after the fourth game.
Okay.
Yeah, because I seen that, so yeah. I could use that as my gauge.
Greg Townsend, once a Raider, always a Raider. Greg, just a couple more before we let you go, and we really appreciate.
I appreciate you guys too.
You know, it's always great. You know, like I said, we were talking to the Wiz yesterday, and he said, you know, one of his favorite parts was still going in front of Raider Nation in the crowd there at training camp, shaking hands, taking pictures, because, you know, Raider Nation is one of one. I know that you were signing autographs inside after practice as well. What is, you know, even all these years later, I know you're still in the midst of it, but when you come back on a day like yesterday, right, where hope and optimism is at its highest, and you get to see Raider Nation, all different generations, once again excited to see both present and past.
And I love it. I love being around the fans. The fans are great. The fans are always positive. They always want to love up on you as a former player or a current player. They just want to love up on you. And so what that entails, you know, Raider Nation is the best.
And once a Raider, always a Raider. Always that is the Raider segment. When you hear that, and you've heard it many times, and I know I've asked you a few times over the years, how does it change in terms of what that phrase means to you?
It means I'm glad to be a Raider, because if we gonna play, you know, because look, we go around these football teams. I played in high school, I played in college, and everybody call it family. Everybody call it family, but here it is family. We are family, and we love each other. We care about each other, and we want to love up on them, and we like to see them all the time. So I'm so happy we have an alumni day, and I'm so happy we have a situation where we can all get together and love up on each other, because we played hard. We played hard, and we respect each other. It's just all positive with us.
There it is, Greg Townsend. Greg, when is the nation gonna see you again? I know Alumni Weekend is preseason game 3. When are we gonna see you next?
I have no idea. It's just, you know, we have alumni group over there helping us sort out, and they call us up and have us do things, and they, you know, we never tell them no. So at the same time, I'm just waiting by the phone when they give me a call and say, hey, we want you up here. Once a Raider, always a Raider. Greg Townsend, the franchise's all-time sack king, Super Bowl champ. Yes. Greg Townsend, we appreciate you. Thanks so much for joining us here on the Morning Tailgate. Thank you, guys. I love you. Greg, we love you. And Raider Nation loves you as well. We'll do it again very soon. That is Greg Townsend. Unbelievable. That is good. You could hear the restraint, Vinny, when we brought up the Wiz in the practices and the one-on-ones that no doubt happened in those practices.
Attitude.
Oh, boy. He'll fight you.
We will fight you.
I also love how he went from, hey, let's sit Fernando all year to, you know what, after 4 games.
That's what I mean. That's why I followed up. I was like, well, what's the patience? What's the threshold? At what point?
Because you know, I don't know. We always get kind of fixated on the ones that didn't work, you know. But there's a whole bunch that did. You just named a whole bunch of them, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you could add Peyton Manning to that. You could add Troy Aikman. He wasn't the first. Was he He might have been the first. Well, whatever. Wherever Troy was drafted, I don't think he was first overall, but he was a very high first round pick. There's case study after case study after case study after case study of Hall of Fame quarterbacks who were drafted in the first round, if not first in the draft, that played extensively as rookies and went on to have Hall of Fame type careers or really good careers. So now's not the time to be scared or worried. If you believe in Fernando Mendoza and his makeup and his intelligence and the perspective and his ability to what's that word? Compartmentalize right things, the good and the bad, which that is a skill set that he has. Then there should be no apprehension. And if you believe that you have a team that's going to be able to keep him upright, now let's put it that way as well, which I think will be the case. It doesn't have to be the day one, but there's no real need to go into the season going, we're going to sit this rookie quarterback for the whole season and not get him out on the field. I personally think, short of the Raiders, having a great season with Kirk and going on a playoff run, I personally think that would be a waste of a season for Fernando Mendoza. His development, the development and the cohesion and chemistry that he needs to develop with this offensive line, who a lot of guys are going to be around for a long time, with the wide receivers, with the tight end, with Ashton Genty, with the coaching staff, all of that. To me, would be a waste if he didn't get out this season for an extensive period of time, short of that, a playoff run. The Raiders going on a playoff run under Kirk.
702-365-9200. We'll continue to get your thoughts. A weekend in training camp. How have your thoughts changed on players, the position group, the team in general? We'll hear from you coming up. But joining us next, Adam Hill with the Las Vegas Review-Journal here on the Morning Tailgate. But first,
hey guys, when it comes to your weight, when it comes to feeling better, when it comes to your overall health, and maybe things are going in a direction that you kind of know isn't the right direction, and you say, hey, I'm gonna get this fixed. I'll start tomorrow. I'll put it off till tomorrow, and tomorrow becomes a whole bunch of different tomorrows, and those tomorrows start running out pretty quick. And here's the thing: you've got an opportunity right now today with CityMD. If you're tired of feeling sluggish, frustrated with your weight, dealing with daily aches and pains, or just not feeling like yourself, it's time to take control. CityMD in Las Vegas offers personalized wellness and weight management programs designed for real, lasting results. But they don't stop there. CityMD also provides advanced pain therapy and primary care, giving you a complete head-to-toe approach to your health. One team, one plan built around you. More energy, less pain, better health, real confidence. And stop waiting. Stop putting it off. Give them a call at 725-255-7246. That's 725-255-7246. Ask for our good friends Andy or Claudia. They will take it from there. Or just go to CityMDPHP. That's CityMDPHP.com right now and schedule your consultation. CityMD. Stop waiting. Start feeling like yourself again today.
But this guy will fight you in a heartbeat. And that was what our defensive line was like. With Lyle and Howie and myself and Reggie, we will fight you. But so will he. And so you have to pick your spots when you're going to go over there with Wiz.
That's the Raiders sack king, Greg Townsend, joining us earlier here on the Morning Tailgate, talking about his former teammate, friend, Steve Wisniewski, who joined us yesterday on the Morning Tailgate. And I was asking, what were you guys talking about over there at training camp? And they were just talking about the battles that they used to go in. We are a week into Raiders training camp, day off today for the team. Back on the field tomorrow, getting your thoughts on what you've seen, heard, read in the week of Raiders training camp and how things have changed in your thoughts for players, personnel, position groups, or offensive, defensive units. 702-365-9200 is the number. Joining us now from the Las Vegas Review-Journal, one Adam Hill. Adam, good morning. Welcome once again. And I guess we'll just start there. A week into training camp, has there been any changes of thought, expectation in players, personnel, position groups of the sort?
Well, first of all, thanks for playing audio and listing every Raiders legend that's been on the last 2 days, and then saying, "Oh, here, Adam, say something."
Yeah, what a great act to follow, right?
That was Clay, 100% and fully intentional.
That's on me.
Sure. I think there's individual positions. I think there's some individual players, certainly, that you look at and say, okay, there might be something here that, I wasn't sure of, or maybe I had some questions about, and maybe they're able to come through. I caution every year that we have training camp superstars that end up not living up to it once the season starts. But I think there's some guys you look at and say, okay, I like what he's doing on the field. Maybe this is a question, and I might not have that question anymore. I think you start with Zeke Masses, who has been really good, and I think he was pretty good throughout the OTAs. He's looked great in some of the drills, some of the team stuff that they've done. If you went in thinking who is that other corner opposite Eric Stokes, and I think you could have looked at it as there's not really an answer, and maybe they just have to throw somebody out there. Now I think there's legitimate options there. So I think that's a different feeling about that position than it was. And that doesn't mean that Zeke Massis is going to be, some dominant player here as a rookie. But I think instead of looking at it and saying, well, somebody's just going to win the job by default, I think now you start saying, well, there's actually somebody that's going to win this job. And I think that's a different feeling about that cornerback position. And I think you also can say that about the wide receiver spot and look at it and say, Trey Tucker has looked like a different player. I think he's looked stronger. I think he's looked more confident. Jalen Naylor obviously brings a different dimension to this offense. And then you kind of said, all right, well, is anybody else going to step up? Any of the rookies, any of the second-year guys? Like, who's going to get there? I think you have your answer so far in Malik Benson. And I think Benson and Masters are the two guys right now that have started to answer some questions about, will anybody step up and compete in those roles? And they have so far. And I think that's probably a good sign. But again, less than a week in the training camp.
Well, I'll throw one more name in there, Adam, and that's Jermon McCoy, who I think is going to make some noise before all this is said and done. And I'm really looking forward to when actual games and actual tackling gets started. What are your thoughts been on? Because when you said, when you're mentioning options at that cornerback position, make no mistake, Jermon McCoy is one of those options, and it wouldn't surprise anybody if he took a starting job or was a major player in the secondary. What have your thoughts been in the limited time that you've seen him on Jermon McCoy?
Yeah, I mean, my thoughts on Jermon McCoy, and for anybody that's listened to me do any interviews the last 6 months, I'm the most outspoken advocate for Jermon McCoy. But so far during camp, he has looked to me like a future piece. I would be shocked if he's a key contributor week one, based on where he is right now. Like, this is a guy, again, it's not just that he went through injury and rehab and all the questions about his knee and the recovery and everything else. It's not just that. He did not play at all last year. He has not played football in close to 2 years, and he looks at times like a guy that's done that. Now, he also looked at times in the one-on-one drill yesterday or the last 2 days, and Vince, I'm sure you're feeling the same way. Like, that's the most fun thing they've done in all of training camp for sure. Just line up, receiver, corner, let's go. It's the schoolyard in middle school. And you see some reps, you're like, oh yeah, that's the talent. There it is. But also, I think we're at is it 5 days in a row now where Jermon McCoy's been flagged for a penalty? Like, he's very handsy, and that has been something he's been in the past. And I think he's relying on that physicality a little bit more because he's been out so long. But you see it. Like, you definitely see the promise. You definitely get optimistic and say, oh, down the road, this guy is going to be something special if he's able to stay healthy. But I would be a little bit more surprised in his case than in the case of some of his fellow rookies if he's contributing right away at a high level to this roster.
Because I was wondering, would you say the same thing about somebody like Trayden Stukes? When you take somebody at the second round, you feel like they're going to be just as a prominent role, especially in this point in camp.
Yeah, Trayden Stukes going to be on the field. I'm fairly certain of that. You see him come through in team drills, and I think I posted this the other day that he struggled a little bit in those one-on-ones. That's not why he's here. Okay. He's not here to line up one-on-one and try to lock somebody down. That's not his strong suit. He can do it. He's capable of it, and you see that in his ability. You see it on college tape a little bit, but he's a guy that is so cerebral, so able to move all around the defense. He can line up anywhere. He can help you out. He's going to play a variety of roles. He's going to be used as I think we've overused this, and we talk about Rob Leonard's defense, but he's going to be one of those chess pieces. He's just going to be everywhere, and he's going to be able to do a little bit of everything for this team. But again, he's not like an outside lineup, put him on an island type corner. Maybe he will be at some point, but right now I think you see his diverse skill set really shine through in the team periods and what he's able to do, and just how he's able to diagnose a play, be in the right spot, and and come down and help out in whatever way they need him to.
Yeah, what did Nakobe Dean say yesterday? A multiple defense means just a lot of guys doing a lot of different things is the best way to describe Rob Leonard's defense, as we all kind of wait to see what that looks like on Sunday. Adam Hill, Las Vegas Review-Journal, joining us here on the Morning Tailgate. Interesting on the one-on-one. Something I did notice, Jermod McCoy's been flagged. Zeke Massis has been flagged. A lot of the rookies, it feels like they're either towing the line or the refs are like sending a message like, hey, you're not just going to be able to do what you want here in the NFL. Interesting to see how they kind of toe that line. But I want to ask you, we talk about Maxx a lot, right? I understand that. It's always refreshing to me, though, because we're in our bubble. We know what he is, right? But when you hear like Kwity Paye and Nakobe Dean at the podium yesterday, just talk about, I think, and I'm paraphrasing Nakobe, it's like, yeah, man, you can do that, couple days. But you're not going to do that every day. And then you see him and you're like, oh, he's that guy every single day. It's almost refreshing to see new guys come in and year out and being like, man, Maxx is really like that. And I think the other big takeaway, and I'm curious your thoughts, again, less than a week into training camp, Maxx looks as good as he ever has, which is saying something considering he just came off knee surgery.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's fair to say he's moving around really well. We know that's what he does. Like, he doesn't take reps off on the practice field. That's who he's always been. That's what he's always going to be, as long as he's physically able to do it. But I will say, I guess the takeaway that you have isn't that he's doing that, because it's what he always does. It's that he's able to do it and able to move around the way he is and able to be as healthy as he is. He's ready to go. Like, he is in. The player that's the most in preseason form we saw was it yesterday. AJ Cole's kicking like 90-yard punts. He's ready to go. But I mean, Maxx is a guy that looks like he can play tomorrow. And while you look at all these other guys, like, oh, they're working their way up, they're building their way up. Maxx could, I think, play a game tomorrow and be ready to go. And I think that's a great time, certainly for the Raiders, who, a couple months ago, it reminded me. I actually wanted to ask AJ if Max's time as a Raider reset.
Ooh.
Like, as longest tenured Raider.
Ooh, so his clock starts at 0 again?
I mean, maybe.
That's that.
It wasn't official.
How does that work?
The trade was not official, so he never.
I read a statement.
Yeah, but I mean, it's not official. You know how that works. It's not official until everything is signed, sealed, and delivered.
I know technically he never left the Raiders, and obviously his tenure remains, and he never left. But you can't erase the statement. I read it. I think in the locker room, is that the case? I know officially in the record books what the case is. In the locker room, are you like, hey, man, it's my team now?
Locker room rules. That's interesting. I think AJ should challenge him.
You can't, right? I don't think. Yeah, I would advise against that. By the way, out of love and admiration for AJ, let's not go down that path. Hey,
Colton's in there too. Colton can challenge that too.
Yeah. Well, Colton is right. Colton.
Colton was asked about that like day one. He's like, I don't think about that. I don't know. I'm just
exactly.
I'm just trying to figure out another.
Don't keep pointing out how old I'm getting, even though he's young by every measure. Speaking of the offensive line, Adam, it feels like the Raiders have been pretty consistent in who they run out there on a daily basis to as the starting offensive line. I feel like there's something behind all that, and there's a direction that they are leaning in with that starting five. I think it's important because I think we've seen in the past where you get to the regular season and all that tinkering and all that moving around probably had a negative effect in the cohesion and chemistry of the offensive line. What are your thoughts so far on what you've seen on the offensive line? I know it's just 2 padded practices. There's a lot to be determined. But do you feel like we're getting an idea of where they're leaning in terms of that starting five right now?
I mean, you have to read something into it, even though Rick Dennison and Clint Kubiak have kind of said not to. They're rotating guys everywhere. Like, there's rotations all over the field. I mean, there's a couple of spots where there's not. You know, Kirk Cousins is taking every first team rep at quarterback. Genty's pretty much taking most of them at running back. And, you know, Trey and Jalen are the receivers. Like, you know, some spots are locked up.
Right.
But every spot where there's any question, you've seen rotations. You have not on the offensive line. The offensive line has been the same offensive line every single day in terms of the first unit. And while they're, you know, saying the right things publicly of, hey, it's still a competition and, you know, there's still spots up for grabs and there's moving pieces, the rotation has not suggested that. The rotation has suggested that they're locked in with, you know, Colton Miller and DJ Glaze at center. Obviously, Tyler Linderbaum at center for Linderbaum. Tackles are Glaze and Miller, and then Burford and JP James in the guards. And that's been the same case every single day. So they can say what they want. I think the actions of not rotating at all would suggest that they have a pretty solid idea of where they're headed in terms of what they want the first unit offensive line to be.
It's Adam Hill, Las Vegas Review-Journal, Vegas Nation, the podcast. It's up on YouTube as well, doing great breakdowns and updates on what you see during training camp. We thank you for your time, and you do belong in the legends. Alzado, Townsend, Adam Hill, you're part of our Wednesdays, and I don't want you to forget about it.
Vinny, did you say no?
Well,
that's fair. Believe me, I'm saying no as well.
No.
That's a ridiculous statement.
But the music, I read a statement. Adam Hill.
Yeah, the music's a bit over the top.
Adam Hill, we appreciate you. We'll see you tomorrow.
See you guys.
Thanks, Adam. Well, we tried to get them all in there.
Right.
I
don't want
thought
to
we
slight
did.
anybody.
I thought we did.
Along with Adam.
He just bowed out. That's just, you stay. If you're in the legends, you stay. The music was playing.
It was good enough for me.
Whatever.
I'm interested if his mindset's going to change a little bit on Jermod, but because I think he's absolutely right. It was a year that he went without playing football, so rust needs to be shaken off. But with guys like that rust usually comes off pretty quickly, and so I'm curious how fast he does shake it all off to be a contributing factor in Week 1. It wouldn't surprise me whatsoever if he was out there on the field in some sort of capacity in Week 1, making things happen.
702-365-9200. Your thoughts on the first week of training camp in the books. How have things changed in your mind, if at all, with position groups, players, positions, hopes, thoughts, expectations? We'll get your thoughts coming up next here in the Morning Tailgate, Raider Nation Radio 920.
Taking the I and me, out the building and just really focusing on the team first. Whatever coaches need from you, whatever that role that may be, you got to go fulfill that role. You got to give everything you got. You got to give shocking effort. You got to come out here. Doesn't matter if you're front side, back side of a run. If you're getting the ball on the pass, if not, you got to go finish. And again, I think it's just that team culture, that shocking effort, everybody on the same page and all 11 doing their part.
That is Raiders' second-year receiver Jack Besh stepping to the podium on a Tuesday following training camp practice, and that shocking effort phrase that you hear is something that you can see on the walls in the building. It's the price of admission, if you will, at Raiders HQ. And so in terms of Clint Kubiak getting his message across, he talked about it at the beginning of training camp, actually before that first practice, saying the biggest thing he wanted to deliver is to get the I out of their vocabulary and replace it with we, right? Because when you start, it's the point Greg Townsend made earlier this hour when speaking with us. Clay, you asked him, what is that mentality of a defensive lineman getting after the quarterback? Mm-hmm. And he was talking about, you got to get your mind right, like the person in front of you did something to your whoever. So whatever's going to get you going to do it. And so in that same vein, what Clint Kubiak is getting across is it's about we. It's about fighting for that person next to you, getting that mentality, getting that visualization of, no one's hurting this person over here. You have to go through me. And that kind of togetherness is something that he's trying to instill. Clearly, the message is resonating as Jack Besh is using the verbiage of shocking effort, right? Because, again, that is on the wall. So that message is being delivered. But for a guy like Jack Besh, who, we haven't really talked a lot about, he hasn't had a bad training camp. He hasn't had a wow training camp, anything of that ilk. But he's a guy that, talking to him yesterday, you could hear he understands what his role is, right? And he's a guy that's fighting for that 3 spot, fighting for time on the field with the offense, and a guy that's going to be impactful in the run game as a wide receiver and making those tough contested catches over the middle, moving the sticks. So we saw, I think, what is a very small sample size of Jack Bech last year. I think he's hoping to build on that and continue it, but I think he understands the role in which he is, and he's that, at least right now, that number, what he's hoping, that number 3, impactful in the run game and helping move the yardage sticks.
Yeah, that's all good that he knows his role and everything like that, but I think wide receiver is one of those positions that, like a guy like Malik Benson, who is flashing on a daily basis, and has been flashing going all the way back to the spring. You need to see that from your wide receivers, and quite frankly, we haven't seen it from Jack Bech. We haven't seen it from Dante Thornton, and there's a reason why we're talking about Malik Benson, because he is. So good that he knows his role, fantastic and all of that, but there needs to be more. Need to see more from Jack Bech, period, exclamation point.
702-365-9200 is the number. Up on the text line, Robert says, "What's up, guys? I want to touch on the Jermon McCoy topic. I believe he will be the steal of the draft. 2 reasons: his talent, and he's only 20. His body's still developing, and he has young bones. So recovery time and healing is not even at its prime yet. I think the fact that he's only 20 is overlooked in terms of how that helps his health status. If anyone can get him right, I believe the Raiders can, and AG. Anyway, looking forward to McCoy being that guy. Have a great show, guys. Raiders." It's Robert up on the text line. I don't know anything. So I'm not the doctor, so I don't know about the young bones, but
right.
I like the train of thought.
It's not so much that he's coming back from anything. It's how long can the knee hold up, basically. In a nutshell, that was the concern with him going into the draft. So it's something that you have to keep an eye on and just hope for the best. That it's not that this is something that's going to allow him to have a long career, not a short one.
Coming up next, hour number 3 here in the morning tailgate, Raider Nation Radio 920. Marcus Johnson, Tate Dline joins us next. It's hour number 3 here on the morning tailgate, Raider Nation Radio 920, the flagship for the silver and black. Vince Sapienza, Vinny Bonsignore, and Clay Baker. Coming to you live from Las Vegas here on a Wednesday, August 5th, 2026. The Raiders with the day off today. Back on the field tomorrow, Friday, Saturday, before we enter game week. The Raiders practicing inside Allegiant Stadium next Tuesday. Playing their first preseason game Thursday, a week from this Thursday, August 13th, against the Arizona Cardinals. Crazy to say, there's a football game tomorrow. The NFL Hall of Fame game is tomorrow. We'll touch on that a little bit later before we close up shop here on the morning tailgate. But joining us now, man who lives by the phrase "tape don't lie," Marcus Johnson. Tape don't lie up on YouTube at the Mark John NFL on the X. And Marcus, welcome. Good morning. Happy training camp to you. I want to start here with the offensive line. And based on, the starting point for the offensive line, we heard Rick Dennison talk about, they're still going through their install process, right? They still need a few more practices. They need a couple games under their belt before we figure out what's what and who's who. But with Colton Miller, Spencer Burford, Tyler Linderbaum, JPJ, DJ Glaze as the starting point, let me ask you the question this way. With the new scheme with Clint Kubiak and Rick Dennison, what they're teaching, who is going to shine the most based on their skill set of what they have shown in the NFL the most? And how would you rank them 1 through 5, I guess?
Those 5 guys, rank them 1 through 5. So number 1 would be Tyler Linderbaum, if I had to rank him. But Linderbaum's going to shine the most. One, a lot of the shine, and not everybody's going to notice because I think he's just going to make the offensive line better. I've been hearing reports about how the offensive line has been playing well. I made the joke to Matt. I'm like, well, that's Tyler Linderbaum probably for a lot of that, right? Because one, he fits the system perfectly. He fits the wide zone system. He's like really, really, really good at that. then he's just a really great center. And, having that type of captain is going to set it up for everybody else. Of course, and then it's easy to go to Colton Miller. But, for 3, I would go Spitz or Burford because I think his fit for the system is what's keeping him in that starting position. I think, some of the things that he doesn't do well get hidden when he's in this type of system. And, I think that's why he's the perfect fit there. Like, he's a little undersized, and a lot of those things. So since he fits the system perfectly, that allows him to shine. And then his understanding of it as well is what's going to allow him to shine there. I think, kind of getting the, 4 and 5 and, kind of doing, JPJ and DJ Glaze, because I think, JPJ and them are in a little bit of a competition. I know DJ Glaze, he's been playing better in camp, but those guys are I feel like, are more in the competition here. I don't know, maybe they shake it up and, they put Caleb Rogers at left guard, and maybe they shake it up and they're moving guys around a little bit, but I think those two, they have a fit for the system. I'd say DJ Glaze has probably the least fit in the system, in my opinion, because I feel like he's more of a gap guy just because he's more of a power guy. And him moving laterally isn't the greatest thing in the world. But that's how I would kind of rank those guys. But I think, number 1 is Tyler Linderbaum. And I think that's the reason why we're hearing reports of the O-line still playing really well, because I think he just brings it all together.
Yeah, he does bring that group together. Fanning out from the offensive line over to wide receiver. It feels like Malik Benson is absolutely making his move. Your thoughts on Malik, but also what maybe that bodes for in terms of Dante Thornton and Jack Bech?
Yeah, what I think it means for, of course, Malik Benson, I'm not really that shocked that he's playing well. I think that he has a skill set that, Clint Kubiak's really going to like. And one of the main things of his skill set, he doesn't drop any passes. And I think that is something that they really rely on. And then, just kind of seeing some of the reports and some of the routes that he's running, it feels like he's playing a lot in the slot because he's catching a lot of balls over the middle, and he's catching a lot of crossers and things like that. So they really feel like that he can be that kind of move around guy, in my opinion, right? And they can move around Brock Bowers with him. And what that plays into Jack Bech and Dante Thornton is, if it feel like, Thornton, he's not really a slot guy. He's not really that type of guy that he's got to play outside for the most part. And I think that's going to kind of have a little factor is like how much can you move Dante Thornton around? Can you move him around? Can you put him in the slot? Can you put him in different areas? That's where he's going to have that step on Malik Benson. Malik Benson's going to have that step on Dante Thornton, and of course just the route running aspect and being able to get open and because if I move you inside, I need you to run better routes. I need you to have more nuance as a receiver because inside you got to be able to have that guy to come back to the football because if you're not, then, there's going to be linebackers jumping and getting interceptions and things like that. So it's important for you to be more nuanced there. But, for Jack Bech, it's super interesting because, I think what Bech does well, he could maybe, I would say, match Malik Benson in some of those things if he played inside, I believe, just because he has great hands too. And, he's more of like a nuanced route runner and, playing outside, it can get a little rocky there. But I feel like that him and Benson's just way faster than him, right? So that's kind of what the explosiveness is there. But I think that similarity where he could become that reliable slot guy, I could see Bech really playing into that role too. So, I think it more, kind of worries about Dante Thornton than it does for Jack Bech, in my opinion.
With all of this, as you've noted many times, for Kubiak to be very a 50-50 split between run and pass, targets aren't going to be, all over the place. They're not going to be throwing the ball all over the field. So when we concentrate on which wide receivers are moving up and maybe down as far as favor is concerned, it still makes me wonder where targets would be for somebody like Michael Mayer. Is this now like his ability to maybe find a niche in this offense getting even further down the food chain?
Yeah, because, I think Mayer is has a really high standing with his coaching staff. I think that he's going to be a very vital part of this offense. Just because I feel like they're going to run a lot of 12 personnel. And even when it's not like traditional 12 personnel where they call like an A set, where it's like the tight end are both across on the line, lined up to tackles, basically, you're going to see Brock Bowers be more in the slot and Michael Mayer be that inline tight end. So it's going to be 12 personnel technically, but Brock Bowers is playing wide receiver. And I think we're going to see a lot of that just because I think Bowers is going to be the focal point of this offense. He's going to get all the targets. He's going to get most of the targets. The game plan is going to make sure that he gets the football in any way possible. And, I think Kubiak does a great job of doing that with, finding one guy to make sure that he's involved in the game at some point. And I think that Brock Bowers is going to be that guy, but also how it's going to, help Michael Mayer is that Mayer becomes like that play action middle of the field guy as well, where, you can do a lot of play action stuff. Mayer is pretty good with yak too. People don't talk about his yak ability that much, but if you get him the football in space too as well, it's not going to be as flashy as maybe Brock Bowers. He probably just runs somebody over, but he's hard to tackle in the open field. So you get him on those bootlegs, when you're running a bootleg with Kirk Cousins and you throw him a 3-yard pass, he could turn into 10 yards too. So that's where I think Michael Mayer is going to come in a lot more, is being that kind of that bootleg, like that the flat guy, that type of guy who runs a lot of those play actions, and then also just be another block a little bit better than Brock Bowers. So I think that's where he's going to factor in, is that you're going to see a lot of 12 personnel. And Michael Mayer is going to be in the line, and Brock Bowers is going to be in the slot, and they're going to be working it out that way. And that's why I think he's going to be more of a focal point of this offense than people expected. When you're respecting these wide receivers to get involved, but I think he's going to get more involved than them, in my opinion.
Staying on the offensive side, Marcus Johnson, tape don't lie. Dante Thornton Jr. just has not really flashed the way I think a lot of people might have hoped, at least early on in training camp, right? For all the reasons Malik Benson is, Dante Thornton has not. So I guess my question is, what does it take? I mean, what has to happen? I mean, does it come down to just having monster preseason games? I mean, how does this look, especially with a Clint Kubiak offense that doesn't necessarily just throw a ton of go balls?
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see what he can do. He is going to have a good preseason. He is. He's going to have some good preseason games where it shows up on the filming games, because like right now he's not putting out good practice film, right? I mean, they're going through and they're reviewing the film after practice. He's not really sticking out, and I heard about some drops and things like that, and there's really no improvement with him as a route runner. Like, the one-on-one sessions for wide receivers, we talk about, the corners playing well, but that is a wide receiver drill. Like, one-on-ones is a wide receiver drill for the most part. I mean, the DBs are at a disadvantage. They don't know what routes come in. And especially in one-on-ones, these guys are just running these crazy routes that you never see in a game. So for him not to be able to get in separation in some of those, that kind of says a little bit that he's not really getting better as a route runner and becoming more nuanced and finding ways to create separation, because even if you are a guy who doesn't change directions well and things like that, you can find different ways to create separation. Like a guy like T. Higgins, he can't really start and stop really well. He's kind of a stiff player, but he finds a way to create separation, whether that's being physical or getting in the players' bodies and things like that, and he creates separation in different ways. So for him not be able to get better there, and not really, kind of show off in one-on-ones, I think that says a lot about him getting better as a route runner, and that's what you really wanted to see from him going from year one into year two, because that was his issue coming out of college. Like, he doesn't run a whole route tree. He's kind of like a little bit of a one-trick pony, and that type of, growth not happening is a little concerning. So, yeah, you want him to go out there and have a really good preseason and produce, and really go out there and have some good games. And, in preseason, you don't expect guys to have these huge games, but you want him to have some games where he's standing out, he's making catches, he's making some big plays, so he can kind of catch the coach's eyes and kind of stay on his team. Because, for a wide receiver, in my opinion, not to be like kind of dominating in one-on-ones or in those type of things, it gets a little concerning there. But we'll see how it plays out as the preseason goes along.
We are just a week away, basically, from that first preseason game that you're talking about. I mean, there's going to be a football game tomorrow, and then a week from tomorrow, the Raiders are going to strap it on and go play the Cardinals over at Allegiant Stadium. What is Marcus Johnson going to be focused on most? Because we know that we're going to see a whole bunch of young players out there for extensive periods of time next Thursday against the Cardinals.
Of course, I'm going to be focused on Mendoza for the most part, but that's kind of very, that's everybody knows that. But that's probably like the main guy, because I just want to see how he looks. I'm so interested to see what he's going to look like, how he's handling it. And it's going to be the environment for him to thrive too, because I think he's a pre-snap savant. So I think that once he sees kind of those vanilla coverages, what we're going to see from him is going to be super interesting for that. But, Some of the other guys that I'm looking at, I'm really looking at Tonka Hemingway because he's having a great camp. I want to see if that goes into games, right? Is it just you having a good understanding the offensive lineman in front of you? You've been practicing against these guys for almost 2 years. Do you know what their weaknesses are, and you're attacking that? Does that go into games, right? I'm really interested to see what he does because he's having a good camp. He's they talk about that he won that weight room award. So is he bigger? Is he playing better against a run? I want to see where his actual growth is in the game. So I'm really trying to look forward to that as well. And a guy I'm also watching on defense is Stukes. I want to see how he looks in preseason. Because a lot of people, especially Raiders fans, they're already writing him off, which I think is crazy. You see a lot of them just kind of writing him off already. It's been 2 weeks. We've been a week in the training camp. They're writing him off already. But I want to see how he looks because I think he is more of a game guy where he is allowed to see what's happening around him and play fast and make plays. So I'm very interested to see what he can do as well. And then kind of on the offensive side of the ball, I want to see what Jack Bech and Dante Thornton look like in preseason. I think it's these games, since they're not getting a lot of, reps and maybe in practice because you're seeing a lot of the first team and, Jalen Naylor's out there and Trey Tucker and those guys. And you're hearing about Benson and that. I want to see what Jack Bech and Dante Thornton look like in preseason. So I'm really watching those guys as well. And of course, I'm watching the whole offensive line, but those are some of the guys I'm really focusing on.
Where do you stand on quarterback rotations for preseason week 1?
I really want to see Mendoza out there a lot. I really hope Mendoza gets a lot of play. Even if that means you put Aiden O'Connell out there first. Okay. And you put Aiden O'Connell and he gets in the first, he plays the first quarter and a half, and then you just put Mendoza in and just let him play the last 3 quarters. That's kind of what I would do because Mendoza gets better if he plays, right? And if you have this plan that he's not going to play week 1, I think he needs to play a lot in the preseason, and that's 3 quarters a game. And then maybe even the last game you let him play 4 quarters. Just so he can get used to the speed of the NFL. And I know that the preseason is not the regular season speed, but just it's still a different speed than what you saw in college, no matter what. And he can get used to playing a lot of football. I think it's very important. So if they don't plan on playing Kirk Cousins or they end up playing Kirk Cousins one of these games, I would like to see O'Connell go out there first and then have Mendoza kind of just finish the game and play a lot of quarters and make sure he's getting a lot of snaps, a lot of throws. He's having 15 throws a preseason game. That's kind of what I want to see from him, just so he can kind of get better. And I bet if we see that, by the time we get to the 3rd preseason game, he might just look really good. And because that's the type of guy he is, and I want to see him have that growth throughout the preseason because I think that would lead into when he starts playing in the regular season, him playing better. That's what I really want to see. I want to see him play 3 quarters, get at least 15 passes a game, so he can be able to have those reps and have those mental reps that he can go back and see what he needs to get better at and what he can deep dive into.
Marcus Johnson, Tape Don't Lie with us here on the Morning Tailgate. Just a couple more, Marcus. You mentioned Tonka Hemingway. He's been a big standout for me and what I've seen every day in terms of guys not only talking about him, but him just kind of jumping off the field. He obviously has that great run on a personal note for him at the end of last season, his rookie year, where he did get some run and he got some production out of it. We see those flashes in tape kind of a lot, though. They don't necessarily translate year to year. What about Tonka, the way he plays, what he does, makes it seem like it will translate from year 1 to year 2?
Well, Tonka is an athletic defensive tackle. He's a very athletic guy, right? You can see that just the way he moves, some of the speed he has when he closes on quarterbacks. You see some of that explosiveness that he has. And he has good technique and a lot of those things, too. It was all about him getting stronger, right? The Raiders coaching staff needed him to get stronger so he could really grow into playing against a run, because he has the pass rush skill. Of course, he has to add more pass rush moves that he needed to, get better at. But I'm sure if he's winning the weight room award, I'm sure he's out there working on his pass rush moves. So I think that all kinds of goes together and really shows his work ethic, right? And because he has the ability to be a really good defensive tackle. When you have that pass rush ability and you can really get after the quarterback from the inside. That's a quarterback's weakness, is getting that pressure inside. The best quarterbacks in the world, if you get interior pressure on them consistently, they're not going to have a great day, right? And that's where, a player like that, he's playing next to Maxx Crosby, makes a huge difference there. And for him to win that weight room award, that really, really sparked me, because his film was all about him getting stronger. Like, he just wasn't strong enough last year, and that's why he would get pushed around the run game when he was on the field. And for him to kind of realize that, get stronger, like, I wonder what his actual weight is right now, because if he puts the right weight on, so he can play inside and play and be more of, kind of, if they're going to do the 3-4, do a little more. I mean, he's got to play a little bit of like 4-eye and things like that, where, as he's a little bit inside, he's not exactly a 3 technique. He's got to play the run. So for him to kind of take that next step, he had to get stronger. And for him to do that, I think that's a big factor in all of this, and really just shows his work ethic and what he can be. Because if he has that mentality, that means he has a chance to be great, and we might see a huge leap from him this year, like a really big one, if he's already out there making plays. And him and Maxx are looking like some of the best defensive linemen they have right now. So I'm really excited about his future and what he can become.
Marcus, haven't heard a whole lot about Kieran Crawford just yet. I'm not worried about that. He's a third-round pick, and everybody's on their own pace right now, and they don't necessarily need him to pop immediately. So there's development time that they have the luxury of at that position right now. But what are your thoughts on Kieran Crawford? What do you want to see from him potentially in that first preseason game?
What I want to see from him is just being able to understand how to, like, set the edge and play outside linebacker in the NFL and kind of play in that 3-4 role, and really show some development playing the run. Because, I mean, the preseason, he's going to see a lot of running, right? You're not going to see too much of these guys coming out there with some of these backup quarterbacks that ended it out. You're going to see a lot of these running backs get a lot of play. So I want to see what he can do, setting the edge and showing that he could play in the run game, because that's what it really is going to want. Where the NFL is going to, you're going to see a lot more running in these next year, in these couple games, especially when you're seeing like B.J. Robinson and all the money he's getting. The league is going back towards that, right? So I want to see what he looks like there, and cause I believe, like, when he goes out there and he's playing some of these lower tackles, you're going to see some real explosiveness from him getting around the quarterback, because he has that bend. I mean, he had 40 pressures last year. He really didn't rush the passer that much at Auburn, right? If he went, he was only 60%. Imagine if that was 90. Does he have like 12 sacks or something like that? And is he a higher draft pick? Those are some of the things I think about when I watch Kieran Crawford. So I really think he's going to show out that way. We're really going to see a lot of his pass rush skill, but I want to see how he's playing the run, because that's going to make him get on the field faster, right? Him playing the run, him setting the edge, that's how he's going to get on the field the quickest. But I really do think he's going to show out in the pass rush ability, just because he has that. He's a natural at it. He just does a great job at it. And, since he didn't have that many pass rush reps, maybe the pressure numbers aren't the greatest that you've seen, but when you look at it from the perspective of him only rushing the passer like 60% of the time, he's pretty special there. So I think he's really going to show out there, but I kind of want to see how he plays the run and how he's effective there as well.
Here's Marcus Johnson. Follow him on the X at @TheMarkJohnNFL. Tape Don't Lie up on YouTube. Marcus, what do you got cooking in the hopper?
Yeah, so doing a lot of lives now. We had a live episode that we just posted yesterday, so go ahead and check that out as well. I'm also actually going out to the training camp on Friday, so I'm going to be covering it live myself. I'm
right,
out there.
Let's go!
So I'm excited about that. And then so I'll be out there Friday and Saturday doing a lot of live coverage there too. And then, just continue doing lives, and then next week, we get some film. I'm excited about that. So.
Marcus, we appreciate you as always, the insights and the intel. We'll do it again next week. We'll see you on Friday and Saturday.
Yeah, I'm excited, guys.
All right, Marcus Johnson, Tape Don't Lie. Appreciate Marcus. 702-365-9200. We'll get your final thoughts for the rest of this hour on week 1 of training camp. How have things changed for you in terms of your mind, your expectations, in terms of players, personnel, position groups, and the like. 702-365-9200. But Raider Nation, do not forget, on Tuesday, August 11th, Allegiant Stadium, 2 days before their first preseason game, it is an open practice, and I don't know if you're going to find a better ticket in town to get inside and see a show at Allegiant Stadium than $5. 100% of the proceeds will go to the Raiders Foundation, so tickets still on sale to go to that open practice on Tuesday at Allegiant Stadium. And the proceeds, again, Raiders Foundation, which supports military members and veterans' health and wellness initiatives and youth development efforts. Go to Raiders.com/camp for more information and get your tickets today.
In our meeting room, they all talk about, we watch individual, we watch team. I correct them. They talk to each other. The leaders like Colton, and he'll say, "This is what I would have done. You should think about this." So those guys have shared information. I think they're just trying to get the best team out there.
Raiders O-line coach Rick Dennison meeting with the media following training camp practice yesterday. Welcome back inside the morning tailgate. That's another common theme that we've heard from these players, Clay, is the communication in the film room. There's
like an importance of it.
Yeah, there's been a common thread that it's happening a lot.
It's like they're not strangers to the film room. They're learning it in a different way. They're being approached to it, and maybe not unlike how the many detailed little exercises and stuff they're doing with their hands on the offensive line, for example, and unique drills to keep things fresh. Obviously, something's been happening in the film room that is opening up a lot of eyes.
Yeah, and again, we've talked a lot about how there's so much new on this team, right? Just there's new everywhere you look, and so I guess it's not necessarily a massive surprise that there's a lot of communication, because when you have so much new, there's going to be a lot of questions. I think the takeaway isn't that there's a lot of talking. The takeaway for me is that there's a lot of questions taking place from these young guys, because one of the things you worry about with young guys and people that are new to a building is they'll kind of stay to themselves, or they won't ask the questions, but no one's afraid to ask the questions is kind of what I'm getting at. And that's a major positive when, problems arise, solutions are easier to find when that conversation is happening. Again, it's not any different than anything in any other NFL building, but as we go through a week of camp, you try and find the common threads through different players, through coaches, what you're hearing, what are the overlaps, and the talking in the film room has been one of them, at least that stood out to me.
And just like anything, if you're kind of new to a system or new to like the coaching staff, yes, there's always a hesitancy to ask questions if you're not
That's
getting
what I mean.
it. And it's like you still want to learn it, but apparently there's something going on over there that group is so supportive that they're not moving on until everyone's getting it, until everyone is starting to learn it, but they're learning all at the same pace, which also is very exciting. So you're seeing that if there is need to go and get into the depth, that there won't be a large drop-off.
Rob Leonard said he wanted to have a noisy room when he was asked about the secondary, what he's looking for from that group. He wants to have a noisy room. And one thing that I've noticed on the sidelines at training camp is how often the secondary in particular comes off the field and their constant communication, whether that's Matt Robinson, the safeties coach, talking with the young guys, whether that's Eric Stokes, going back and forth with a Zeke Masses, with a Darian Porter, et cetera, et cetera. There's a lot of communication, and I think Robin was asked, how's that going? He's like, better. It's getting better.
Yeah.
Which
means we're not there yet.
Which we're not there, you also hope you're not there yet, because you want it just to continue to get it. And noisy, if you're talking noisy, you almost want it to be obnoxious. Almost. Not obnoxious, but you want it to be where it is constant and incessant. And I know Rob Leonard wants that throughout his defense, not just the secondary, but throughout the defense as well. Kwity Paye talked about it as well. There's a lot of conversation going on in the film room with him. He's obviously a guy that's asking a lot of questions as well, because he's playing multiple positions along that defensive line, something that he really enjoys. Quay Walker talked about it a few days ago as well, that he's being put in all these different positions and spots, and he's really able to kind of do what he was hoping he could have done in Green Bay, but maybe a little bit limited to. So that's the multiple. That's the conversation going on as it pertains to the Raiders defense.
Yeah, when Quay was talking about that, he was trying to outline the fact that, I was growing and I was getting better, and I wanted to do more because I know I could do more, but I was limited by what they just had my own role to be. And I like the fact that he feels like, I can be expansive right now, and Rob Leonard's giving me this opportunity to do so.
And clearly that opportunity is at not only Quay Walker's feet, but a number of players on that Raiders defense as well. 702-365-9200. Charles in Oregon, back with us here on the tailgate. Good morning. What do you got?
Hey, fellas. Good morning. Happy hump day. How are you all doing today?
Fantastic.
We got all our vitamins in. Where do you stand on vitamin D, Charles?
Yes. So I was one of the half a dozen that texted in, Vince.
And I appreciate
that's
you.
Vitamin D, not C. Wasn't trying to be over Mr. Corrector, but I had to say something.
My mom would be so disappointed in me if she heard that. So I thank you.
Yeah, it's all good. No worries. So, one of the things I find really encouraging, there were a lot of press conferences and just great sound. But at the same time, I think the best thing that was said by Coach Kubiak, not just the turds comment, but the thing that he said that stood out to me was, words are just words. They don't mean anything. Mm-hmm. And, I took that as what he cares about is, are we being efficient? Are we being productive? And is it going to result in better play? They're focusing on getting better every rep, every play. It's not, you could say all this and commitment to excellence and just win, baby. And the point at which that we have arrived and this is going to be a solid franchise is when you don't hear those coined phrases anymore. They're not talking about that. They're actually doing it on the field. And so in my opinion, my words are just words, but the truth is he's about that action. If we could quote Marshawn Lynch, he's about that action. And I think it's going to produce. So excited. I called it that Benson would be a stud at wide receiver. And, I'm hoping and praying he stays healthy because I think he's going to be super productive. But he was one of the ones that, to me, when I heard him, Fernando was saying, man, he asked questions constantly. He's staying later. As soon as I heard that, I'm like, he's going to be a stud.
Yeah, but is that just your Oregon bias shining through, Charles, or did you really see the makings of an impact player?
Okay, so no, because two of my boys go to Oregon State. They're Beavers, so it has nothing to do with that. And I'm not a Duck hater. I'm originally from California, but it had nothing to do with that. I'll be honest. I wasn't familiar with Benson prior to the draft, and so I think I saw him a little bit. I didn't think much of it, and to hear that he's so productive is awesome. Looking forward. My wife Tiffany and I are coming out this coming week to go to the practice at Allegiant. Can't wait to see that. And then we're going to the game on Thursday. And then we're going to see Backstreet Boys again because my wife wants to dance. So we're going to have fun at the Sphere. So just appreciate you guys taking my call.
Charles,
God bless you guys. Have a good day.
Clay, you hear that? He's blaming his wife. He wants to go see Backstreet Boys. That's okay,
Charles. No, just use her.
Yeah, heck yeah, I go. I don't care, man. I'm gonna be shaking my groove thing too, man.
That's awesome.
So it's all good.
That's awesome,
right,
Charles. Appreciate you. Thanks so much for the phone call.
Is it shielding behind her?
You got to shake it. If you go to the Sphere, you're going to be moving and shaking whether you like it or not because those seats they rumble. They move to the music. They do.
Yeah, it's not for the sedate.
Yeah.
You might be feeling like sedated afterwards because I know it's a colossal amount of sound and images being thrown at you, but that's good. It's funny because sometimes you get like a mental image and you realize that Charles that's his band, that's his era. Backstreet.
Is he going to be? But he's going to have like protein bars and stuff.
There won't be a single carb eaten whatsoever.
No. Zero.
50 grams of protein each day, whatever it takes.
I don't even. He might have to fight the people. There's no popcorn allowed within like 4 feet of him.
He just goes and bench presses people out of the way who has carbs in front of him. Pringles, get that out of here.
Ooh, my son just discovered barbecue Pringles.
Oh, right. What?
We are destroying the shelves at our local grocers. If there's a barbecue Pringle available, it's in the basket.
My son went through the same thing with the sour cream and chives barbecue. And then you get this, like, all right, we got the Pringles, and then you open it up, and then here's the thing about the packaging of Pringles. They're fragile, and they'll be busted up, and there will be, like, you could see, like, a slight amount of disappointment in the face of, like, why?
Why
has this happened, Dad?
A sleeve of Pringles that are just pristine? Like, has that ever existed?
And would you want that?
One That's a good point.
Because would you trust it at that point? Because there has to be some breakage. I'm used to breakage.
Like, I'm talking, like, even at the manufacturing plant. Like, just even on the assembly or however it works. Moving, something's going to has there ever been a pristine sleeve of Pringles?
Coming off the conveyor belt, it's locked, it's packaged, it's vacuum sealed. There has to be some sort of, like, breakage immediately.
Yeah, because once it goes in a box and then gets shipped, I mean, there's just no hope. There's just zero hope.
If you put a Pringle up against the sun, you could see right through it. I mean, these are not thick chips.
Yeah. These are things I think about as I snack.
You're not allowed to eat that either.
Yeah.
You're enjoying it through your son, and Jackson's reaping the benefits.
Yeah, but we're getting back into hibernation period. You know, once the sun, once it stops being 100,000 degrees out here, start getting into the colder in September, October. Hibernation begins again, and then beach season is next year.
Okay, yeah. Be good to yourself.
Yeah. Up on the text line. Where did it go? Jimmy in Vancouver. Good morning, gentlemen. Haven't texted in a while. Yeah, what's that about? I was just about to say, Jimmy, where you been? Haven't heard from Jimmy in Vancouver.
Clay? Jimmy, you listen to somebody else, Jimmy? I don't like it. Jimmy, we regard you in high esteem over here.
Every time I read Jimmy in Vancouver, I haven't gotten to his text, but every time I read, I think of the Seinfeld. Jimmy likes what Jimmy sees.
Jimmy likes barbecue Pringle.
Jimmy jumps high. Jimmy in Vancouver. Good morning, gentlemen. I hope you have all had a great summer so far. I am impressed with the potential and progress players are showing, especially our corners and safeties potentially. We have some studs in the making. I think the offensive line will come around, but I am concerned with our place kicking. I think Matt Gay is a downgrade from Daniel Carlson. What's your take on Matsuzawa? Jimmy in Vancouver. Look, I'm not going to pretend to be a kicking expert. I do know that stats will tell you Matt Gay is a downgrade statistically from Daniel Carlson, right? Like, there was a reason he was on two teams last year, but Matt Gay has the secret sauce with Joe DeCamillis, and they won a Super Bowl together in L.A., and Joe D saw what he saw with Matt, knows what Matt has, not just in the leg, but between the ears as well, right? And I think Matt talked about that when he met with the media with us on Sunday. He talked about he believes he still has the physical power to do what he needs to do. It's just a matter of getting back to what made him have that career year back with the Rams where they won a Super Bowl, and he was making those kicks. And so, a lot of kicking, and that kicking game is mental, and it's routine oriented, and it's going through the same thing and getting back whatever that special. Whatever it is.
And it's got to be concentration. I mean, and Joe DeCamillis says he's vouching for him in a way, like saying, like, I know you can get back to this point, but we've also known that kickers, once they fall off that deep end, they don't come back. And every year in college, there are more and more kickers flooding the market.
Yeah.
And we see last year, almost 45 different kickers kicked in the NFL because teams just went through them a lot.
Yeah.
So the point of emphasis is, how familiar are you with him? And he is. So maybe they know something that we don't, but it would be one heck of a success story if he was able to come back and start regaining that form that he had in that Super Bowl year where he was extremely accurate.
Yeah, he's clearly the leader in the clubhouse. Special K, Tokyo Toe, Kansei Matsuzawa is there right there behind him. But DeCamillis said it is a true competition. It is open, and it's going to come down to, and it's as simple as it gets, who makes their kicks, right? It's going to be as simple as that. And I guess the beauty for Matsuzawa is that, he's a rookie. He's 27 years old, though, so he's an older rookie. So when you talk about the between the ears stuff, he's more mentally mature than you would be getting a 22-year-old, a 21-year-old out of college, right? So in terms of the highs and lows that come with whatever that is a plus for him. But he's never done it at the NFL level. He talked about it on Sunday. He's like, it's hard to – I haven't done it yet. And so that's why preseason games and getting the opportunity to do that in some kind of higher stakes environments is going to be crucial. But even DeCamilla said, like, look, if we get through camp, and I would love to have, and Matt Gay's the guy, I would love to have Matsuzawa on the practice squad because I think that highly of him early on. So,
which is good. See how you prepare and see what the environments are like and how you would probably get used to it. Because there's going to be a lot of pressure kicks that come into it. But at the same time, how are you going to start handling all the different rules that come in the NFL for kickoffs? There's a lot that goes into it now.
Yeah.
And and having Matt there is good, but it almost makes you feel like if they're not satisfied, you might see a different kicker, maybe two different kickers by the time the season ends.
702-365-9200.
Jimmy is pretty sweet on you.
I love that episode. Jimmy in Vancouver. Don't take so long between texts. Hey, sprinkle in a call here and there.
Yeah, Jimmy.
We
like you a lot.
702-365-9200. We'll get your final thoughts in the final sit down, but first, Clay has a gift for you.
Oh, that's right. Circle the wagons and head out to the Las Vegas ballpark in downtown Summerlin for Las Vegas Aviators baseball. I have a 4-pack of tickets for Saturday, August 15th. It's Nick Kurtz bobblehead t-shirt night, so you don't want to miss it. Be caller number 9 at 702-365-9200 for your chance to win 4-pack of tickets to go see the Aviators against the River Cats here on Raider Nation Radio 920.
Two teams. Final sit down here on the Morning Tailgate, Raider Nation Radio 920. A big thanks to the legend, the all-time sack king for the Raiders, Greg Townsend, joining us as we restart. Once a Raider, always a Raider.
That was a good start.
Great start. Great stories. You could just hear it in his voice when he was talking about Wisniewski and the practices. He'll fight you. He will fight you.
It was like, our defense, we'll fight you. But he'll fight you too.
So you pick your battles. So
Right,
you pick
right. He was like, he wasn't the kind of guy who's like, hey, I want to work on some stuff. Come home and practice and pads and buying bandages.
Yeah, that's not the guy you want to try stuff on. Yeah.
No, it wasn't.
Great conversation with Greg Townsend.
But I loved it how he brought his own attitude and explained attitude, and
great.
that set the tone.
Adam Hill, Las Vegas Review-Journal, as well as Marcus Johnson of Tate Don't Lie, and you,
Great.
Raider Nation. We appreciate you as always. Jimmy in Vancouver has texted in again 2 times one day.
What? How is that possible?
I listen to you boys all the time. I will text in more often. Jimmy in Vancouver.
Jimmy's been watching you. You're just Jimmy's type.
Jimmy.
You're just Jimmy's type. Oh, I love that episode so much. And I just love how we guilted Jimmy in Vancouver to text in again.
Right. Now we expect more from you, Jimmy. It's okay. But we thank everybody who listens at work when you're taking us with you.
We understand not everybody can text or call in. That's what we're here for. We're here to bring you what we can. Brian says, sorry, gentlemen, I was out of my car when you gave the word of the day. Can you give it one more time, please? Thank you. What do you think? What do you think, Caesar? Yeah, thumb up, thumb down.
He was listening, but he had to leave. We got a lot of delivery drivers. Okay,
all right.
Let's do it.
All right, the word of the day for the Summer of Fun trip to Yellowstone National Park. The word of the day is breeze.
Breeze.
B-R-E-E-Z-E. Breeze. That was for you, Brian. Gurdeep from Phoenix says, gents, Pringles are technically classified as potato crisps rather than traditional potato chips. Go Raiders. Did I say potato chips or did you?
I did.
Did you mess that up?
Well, I was not consulted on the crisps category.
How could you not know that?
Because I often see crisps in bag form instead of the tube. Does that require inspection? Like, do we have to get to a Smith's or a Ralph's or something?
It makes sense that it's a crisp. Maybe it's how you described because it's so thin.
But
at what point is the chip a crisp?
And is it the Cheez-It cracker? Are we going into this realm now?
I don't know the difference there. We need.
Okay,
if only we had more time.
Well, this does deserve some further
we got
looking.
3 hours tomorrow.
Yeah, blow my mind.
Charles in Oregon wanted to let everyone know he's on a high-protein diet right now. Some carbs. He's 5 weeks out from competing. He's at 6% body fat. Going to get down to 3% by showtime.
That is the Backstreet way.
And he goes, Pringles. For Vinny Bonsignore and Clay Baker, I'm Vince Sapienza. Thanks so much for joining us here on the Morning Tailgate. Make sure you stay with the flagship with the silver and black. JT the Brick from 12 to 2. Unnecessary Roughness with Q Myers from 2 to 5. We are back on a Thursday live from Raiders HQ as the silver and black return to practice. We will give you all the sights, sounds, ins, and outs. Have a great day, everybody.